welcome back to Alter Egos. I'm your host Glenn, and this is a special announcement episode of Season 3, along with a bit of housekeeping. We recently completed our Season 2 podcast with 8 episodes in August and July. This included a spoiler from Fantasy Flight Games, a designer interview, and then multiple content collaborations with other larger community content creators that all were willing to come on our small show and talk about Marvel Champions. It was fantastic to have each and every one of them on, and I really enjoyed the content that we produced during August. Some people gave us some feedback saying that there was too much content or that the content quality had dropped off significantly. I just wanted to say sorry if that is the case. I'm going to reflect on how we might better deliver higher quality content moving forward. I thought that what we produced in August was of a standard that I was happy to put out, but I know there's always room for improvement, so it's something that we will take into consideration as we head into Season 3. Speaking of feedback, I just wanted to quickly say that that sort of feedback is actually very much appreciated here at Alter Egos. If you have further feedback that you would like to provide, feel free to continue writing honest reviews on a podcast app of your choice. I'd really appreciate if each and every one of you would do that. Alternatively, you can send me an email as per the episode description, and I will get back to you with some points about the feedback if you do so. So thank you either way, and thank you for your continued, willingness to engage with Alter Egos content. I'm really hoping that Season 3 can be bigger and better than what we did in Season 2. So what is the plan for Season 3 for Alter Egos? Well, we're really going to commit to and stick with our twice weekly content regime that we've produced. So what this means is that on Mondays at 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be reintroducing and implementing Honorary Deck. Honorary Deck is a segment or feature that we're going to flesh out into a full episode on the Mondays. And what that is going to involve really is a discussion with a member of the Marvel Champions community. It can be any one of you, a listener, a content creator, or a Patreon subscriber. And what this is that it's going to offer the opportunity to engage in discussion week to week about a deck list of someone's choosing and really explore what led them to build a deck in the way that they did, why they included some cards and didn't include others, what the general strategy for the deck is, some considerations that were ultimately cut, and just really hopefully provide some insight into deck building, which does exist in the community at the moment, but I think, or I'm hoping that the show is one way in which we can kind of generate some further discussion around deck lists and talking about decks. And I'm really hoping that this feature becomes something that we can continue on into the far future. A lot of you previously enjoyed the deck list that we put together. So that was mainly Joey and a little bit of myself. But moving forward, I really want this segment week to week to be a community effort. So getting some guest content creators on, getting some of the prominent deck builders such as Brian V or Drew onto the cast to kind of share their insights into their deck building process. I think we'll go a long way to making this engaging content week to week. Part of that is that one of our Patreon tiers is that we do allow patrons to share their deck list for discussion. And so once every 3 months, a patron's able to engage in that way. It really was just set up as a way to provide something additional for those that wanted to get, be a bit more generous and give a little bit more to the podcast. So that is the plan for Mondays at 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. On Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, we will continue recording our regular podcast of a length between 30 minutes to 45 minutes. We found that this length seems to be a really good balance between offering in-depth discussion while providing a concise and focused podcast. Some of you might have noticed that our Hulk review was like double the length, and that is fine, but we don't want that to be the norm. We really want the focused to be on high quality, consumable content that doesn't, go too long or stretch out too far. The one exception is designer interviews. I always make a goal of making sure that those are a bit longer. And I'm happy to announce on this podcast that we tentatively have one of those lined up for mid-September to hopefully provide some further insights into the Rise of Red Skull, design process. So what does the regular podcast look like in September? Well, we're really going to be all things Rise of Red Skull. We'll be doing individual episodes focused on the 2 heroes that came in the box, on the scenarios that came in the box, on the campaign elements that exist in the product, and then also pick out some key design features that were present in the box to really go deep on and talk about more widely. We hope you enjoy what's planned, and I will be putting out a calendar to really show that we have a thought-out, planned process for how Season 3 is going to develop month to month. So in addition to those 2 things, we also have a YouTube channel that I'm still trying to really work out what its role will be for our content. At the moment, it really just is a way to re-upload the podcast content. But in the future, I want it to really allow for gameplay and particularly deck building discussion in a visual way. It's just that time is a factor. And more importantly for me is I don't have a PC that can let me capture my screen in a smooth fashion. And what I really need to be able to do is be able to capture my screen so that I can highlight the decks properly. So until probably next year when I start my full-time job, we're going to have to keep Honorary Deck to a audio format almost exclusively. But just know that in the back of my mind always is like the thought of how can we get the YouTube channel up and running a bit more efficiently. So I already mentioned this, but feedback has been a huge part of how we've transitioned from Season 2 to Season 3. And I just wanted to reiterate that if you would like to, feel free to either leave a review on your podcast app of choice or send us an email. Your feedback means a lot to me, and I take everything on board and reflect on anything or everything that you, the listeners, write. So thank you for those that have sent feedback of all sorts, mostly positive and some very constructive. And just know that really the goal is to try and create content that as a community we can all engage with in a build the collaborative sort of spirit and just a way to talk more about Marvel Champions, the game that we all know and love. So any feedback would be greatly appreciated. And I look forward to sharing with everyone what Season 3 has to offer. The last bit of housekeeping that I probably need to mention here is that we do run a Patreon here at Alter Egos. I've promised before that it's not something that I really promote or push out excessively. I really just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you to those that have chosen to support the show in this way. It's meant a lot to me in this limbo period where I no longer have a job, and I wasn't sure if the future of the podcast was really going to be okay before I kind of worked out my employment side of things. So during this time of uncertainty, I very much appreciated the willingness of the community to ensure the future of the podcast for the next 12 months. So thank you to all the current patrons. The Patreon really is just a way for you listeners or community members to just help support the show on the back end, as there's a whole bunch of costs associated with running a podcast week to week. So I really do appreciate what's been provided to so far, and there is a link in the description if you're interested. But I thought this was a good opportunity to say thank you personally to each and every patron. So without further ado, thank you to Alan, Matthew, Sean, Alex, Todd, Will, Scott, Dan, Josh, Chris, and Jackie. All of you have listened since the start of the podcast and kind of believe in what we're doing here. So I very much appreciate that you've been willing to support the show. And I'm really hoping that moving towards the end of 2020 and into 2021, we can make this show an even better experience for everyone. Just a further caveat, please be aware, Alter Egos does not do paywalled content. We don't lock anything away. Our content will always be free and available to everyone. And our focus is still very much on creating content for the entire community. But thank you to those who have chosen to go that extra step and support us in a meaningful way. So that's it for housekeeping. I just want to thank you, everyone, once again for the support that you've shown during Season 2. And I'm really excited to see what Season 3 has to offer. I'll conclude this part by just making an announcement about a new content creator that's coming onto the scene for Marvel Champions. I used to play a ton of a game called Star Wars Destiny and was even part of a team at one point called Late Night Gaming. They're a group of content creators out in the California area primarily who love to share content and do a weekly stream on their Late Night Gaming YouTube channel. The link will be in the description below, along with a Discord invite. But they recently decided to transition into Marvel Champions content, and they're going to be running their first weekly stream, starring yours truly as their first special guest in a debut campaign of the Rise of Red Skull. And what they're hoping to do is week to week, they're going to have different members of the Marvel Champions community on their show, showcasing gameplay week to week in a multiplayer context. And that's a really exciting way to just hang out on a Friday night and just watch people play Marvel Champions. I think it's a really exciting endeavor, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they're sort of going to bring to the game. They've got some great deck builders. They've got a gentleman by the name of McBobber, and Poem, who kind of runs the show, is a fantastic host, and I'm really hoping that the community kind of embraces the content that they're going to be producing. And yeah, if you have nothing else going on a Friday night, I think it's kind of exciting that you can join a live chat, engage with the host as they play some Marvel Champions. So they'll be going live at 7 p.m. PST on the 11th of September. And then each week moving forward, there'll be alternative content creators with a guest list featured on their Discord, so you can keep up to date there. I know that the Side Scheme are getting involved in this, and that tentatively Marvel Champions Monthly will also be involved. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well. So that's it for me for this week, and thank you for your patience in listening to me go on about just the podcast and some housekeeping. I hope everyone is well and enjoying the Rise of Red Skull box, and I'll be back very soon with some Marvel Champions content in the form of the podcast in Season 3. So until then, thanks heaps, and everyone stay safe. Cheers.